Wait through it.
That's right.
Oh, really? I don't know what you're gonna do.
No, they're there for a contract.
It's 6:30.
You know, as much as, I know I work a lot.
All right, good evening, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
The time, today is June 11th. The time is 6:30 PM, and I am calling this meeting of the Macomb Township Board of Trustees to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Posey, we call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Cusimano?
Here.
Trustee Lucido?
Here.
Trustee Papa?
Here.
Trustee Oliver?
Here.
Treasurer Drollet?
Here.
Clerk Posey here. Supervisor Viviano?
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Mr. Supervisor, I have a proposed add-on as item number 19, which would be closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681H to discuss legal written opinion regarding priority waste contract, and also to include with item number 4 to approve the previous closed session meeting minutes from May 28th, 2025. That's all I have.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the addition and correction?
Motion to approve. Support.
Any questions or discussion? Motion by trustee Papa, supported by treasurer Gillette to approve the agenda as corrected. Members, please vote.
I can't because
Motion passes unanimously.
Papa's already got it.
Is there a motion to approve the bills?
So moved, Mr. Chair. Support.
Any questions or discussion on the bill run? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Papa. I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I
made the Gillette.
motion.
Motion by treasurer Gillette, supported by trustee Papa.
Would love the bill.
To approve the
bills.
bills. Sorry. Members, please vote. I have to vote. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item 4 is approval of previous meetings minutes and the closed session minutes from May 28th, 2025.
So moved. Support.
Any questions or discussion?
Trustee Cusimano wants to make a statement on the record. I've reviewed the meeting minutes, found them to be accurate and satisfactory. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, trustee Guzmano. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Papa, supported by trustee Lucido to approve the previous meeting minutes and the closed session minutes from May 28th. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, this will take us to our first public comment of the evening. This is for agenda items only. Anyone who wishes to make public comment on an agenda item may do so now on the microphone at the right-hand side of the room. I don't see anyone making a move, so we're going to move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move the consent agenda in its entirety.
Okay.
Support.
Is there any questions or discussion on the consent items? Hearing none. Motion by treasurer Gillette, supported by trustee Lucido to approve the consent agenda. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, this is going to take us to item 7. So tonight we have a presentation from Dawn Lund from Utility Financial Solutions regarding our water and sewer rates for the fiscal year 2026.
All right, good evening, Board. So just as a recap, it was approved on January 25th for UFS, or Utility Financial Solutions, to perform a 2-year financial projection to determine water and sewer rate adjustments for fiscal years 26 and 27. Dawn Lund, who is here this evening, will be presenting the projections and going over the factors that led to the results you will see today. And we will be happy to answer any questions you have either during or after the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm Dawn Lund, Vice President of Utility Financial Solutions, and we do cost of service studies, financial projections, and special rate designs for utilities across the country. I'm here tonight to present your water and wastewater financial projection. What a financial projection does is it tells you where you are financially today and where you're moving into the future. I'm thinking this clicker is not working.
Is it not reaching?
There it
goes.
that way.
Okay, thank you. There we go. So I'm reviewing the water and wastewater financial projection and rate designs, and I'm going to start with water. I'm going to review 3 key targets that help determine if a rate increase is needed or helps guide rate increases. I'm going to take a little bit more time on this table. The targets are the same for wastewater, so I can kind of move a little bit faster through wastewater because I'm going to talk about the same 3 key targets. I did want to mention you do have a water and wastewater report in your packet. I apologize, when I reviewed today to prepare for this, I noticed that there was a number wrong in this water table compared to your report. It did not change the recommendation, it does not change the rate track, and it does not change the rate design. So it's not material to the program that I'm talking to you about tonight, but in case you reviewed the report compared to this table, that's why. So the 3 key targets that I'm going to talk about are the middle column, operating income. If that number's positive, you're operating at an income. If it's a negative, you're projected to operate at a loss. The next column to that is the projected cash balance. Obviously, we want that number to be positive. The minimum cash I would like the system to hold over the 5-year period is about $8.5 million, or about 120 days cash on hand. You can see that the table, the cash balance declines throughout the projection. And moving back to the operating income, you can see that the operating income would be projected to operate at losses. Your debt coverage ratio, that last column, would not be met starting in year 2028, and that is with issuing a projected $20 million bond in 2026 to help support the capital improvement program. You have a robust capital improvement program projected, so we would need some bonding to help support that. I also want to mention in this table, there are projected rate increases from Great Lakes Water Authority. We did get a presentation from Great Lakes Water Authority that indicated that wholesale water costs are projected to go up over the next 5 years. This year, your letter indicated that you would see about a 5.7% rate increase, so that's pretty solidified. Moving from 27 through 2029, Great Lakes Water Authority is projecting a 7.5% rate increase in each of those years. And then 2023, Great Lakes Water Authority is projecting a 6% rate increase. Those increases are reflected in this table. So I did want to make note of that because historically, your wholesale water increases had been right around 3%. So that's a pretty significant rate increase moving out into the future. So when we look at these 3 key targets, it would indicate, this table is showing you without any rate adjustments, it would indicate that's probably not something we can do. We don't want the system operating at losses, we don't want the cash turning negative, and certainly we need to try to meet that debt coverage ratio. So this next table shows projected rate adjustments of 4.9% this year. Recall that Great Lakes Water Authority, you will be seeing a 5.7% rate increase there. Your purchase water costs are about 75% of your overall budget. So I did try to simply, basically pass on the rate increase, how it would affect your budget. And I upped it a little bit, or actually made it pretty level to what you're going to see for Great Lakes Water Authority in 27 through 30. I did want to give the board a little bit of time and the ratepayers a little bit of time to prepare for that, for those rate adjustments. So I felt like we could try to keep that under 5% this year, the rate increase under 5%. And you can see that the cash balance stabilizes, the operating income would operate at a positive, and your debt coverage ratio would be healthy, which would be very important because of the robust capital improvement program you have and the corresponding bond to help support that. Before I move on to the next couple of slides, which will tell you the rate design and how it affects the average ratepayer, do you guys have any questions on the 3 key targets or this table? Or anything I've covered so far?
I do have a question, Mr. Chair, if I may. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lund, for the presentation so far. You know, the projected rate increases from the Great Lakes Water Authority are obviously considerably higher than what we've experienced the last few years. Is there any reason why that they gave the Great Lakes Water Authority while they're anticipating raising rates 7.5% in upcoming years?
So I'm sure it helps to support their budget and their capital that they need to have in the system to provide wholesale water. But that's about all I know. It's helped to obviously help support their budget and their capital infrastructure needs. And they presented this, and I think it's not unique to Macomb. It's any of the systems that are being serviced by Great Lakes Water Authority. So you're not alone in seeing these rate increases.
Okay, and I realize that you are not you're not with the Great Lakes Water Authority, you're not a mind reader, but how, what's the degree of likelihood that they're actually going to follow through with that, those 7.5% increases in your?
So in my opinion, and again, I'm not representing, like you said, Great Lakes Water Authority at all, but I can just tell you historically what I've seen. So probably back in, don't quote me exactly this date, but about 2019, there was a pretty significant rate increase from Great Lakes Water Authority, a double-digit rate increase. After that time, they had pretty much promised or indicated they were going to try to keep the rate increases lower, right around that 3%. They lived up to that, and now I think the program, they're facing is increasing costs, increasing budget costs, and capital infrastructure, and this is what they've projected out. So if I had to guess, they would probably follow what they've indicated. I know this year there was a little bit of pushback on the rate increases they had initially announced, and backed those down to between like 5.7 and 5.9. So I'm sure they're not going to vary much from that. One of the beauties of having a projection, this is just trying to give the board an idea what could be coming in the future. But if you were to approve the rate increase, I think you're only approving 1 year tonight. This is an indication what could happen in the future. If those rate increases from Great Lakes Water Authority don't happen, you've got time to adjust in the future.
Okay, and do you have any advice on how we can do even more pushback on those bigger rate increases in the future than we're done this year?
Yeah, so I don't, because obviously they have to meet their budget and their needs, and anytime there's pushback and you don't have a rate increase that's needed, it only compounds into the future. So it's not like the pushback makes their costs go down or the increase go away. They're probably just moving things around and pushing it out into the future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, great questions. Any other questions on this before I move on?
Mr. Chairman, through the chair to legal counsel, has the landscape changed in the judicial orders on cases? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. There really hasn't been any significant change, although I will say that it appears that there's been more favorable movement towards municipalities when it comes to the challenges with regard to water and backups and things of that nature.
There was some litigation between a municipality to characterize the case as a tax. I understand that there was significant ruling giving more authority to the provider.
That is correct. Those cases that have been brought by plaintiffs' attorneys against municipalities, et cetera, they've been continuously failing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I got a quick question, Ms. Lund. Are any of these percent increases up till 2030, are there any indication of a community that can't pay their bill, and are they rolling that up, or that's just everyone in this group is paying their bill? So
You mean from the Great Lakes Water Authority?
Yes.
No, in my opinion, if what you're saying is, are these increased rate increases because people aren't paying their bills to the Great Lakes Water Authority?
Right, that's,
I don't have any knowledge of that.
okay.
Good question, though.
Answer that real quick.
Okay.
Yep, so the Highland Park issue that they had in the past, the goal is to no longer have that issue. That's gone away. So there is nothing in here saying that we're gonna be paying anybody else's water bills moving forward.
Okay,
None.
that was my question, thank you.
Hey, Kevin, why don't you sit up here with Roger with that microphone in case there's other GLWA specific things. Kevin actually sits on one of the GLWA boards, and if any other questions come up, can probably help us answer them.
Oh, can I see it from now?
Any other questions before I go over the rate design?
I have one other question through the chair. What number or cell was incorrect? Could you identify it on the,
Yes, so it started on the projected revenues for 2027. Staff and I went through a pretty intensive review on units, to make a long story short, and I was playing around with the spreadsheet and a number, I hard-coded a number in there, which is the number one rule in a spreadsheet not to do. And right after that call, I wrote the reports, and that's how that happened. And I caught it in the review. Again, you'll see it does not change the rate track. It does not change the rate design. It just simply, I caught it and I wanted to fix it for tonight.
so which is it? Is projected revenues for 2027?
Yeah, and it would actually be in this table. Starting in 2027, you would see that jump in your report for no particular reason. There wasn't a corresponding rate adjustment to that. And then, of course, because that table was wrong, and when I put in the rate increase, it carried through. But again, the bottom line to 2030, the operating income, the operating cash balances, and the debt coverage ratio were not materially different. It did not affect the rate track. It does not affect the proposed rate design.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. That answers my question.
Dawn?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can we get a copy of that so we can update the packet on the website?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I got one more,
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
maybe to Kevin. So this rate increase, this 5.7 that we're looking at first, have we done a study on the average house, what it's gonna run, or have we got that far yet?
It's coming up.
Yep, that's gonna be coming up in the next
That's in the
slide.
next
that's
slide.
coming up, okay.
So you're queuing me up perfectly.
Getting
Thank you
ahead
for
of
that.
myself. Okay.
Thank you for
Thank
that. So let's actually discuss that. So one thing you have to remember, you bill quarterly. So many systems bill monthly. So when you look at these numbers, keep in mind you're billing quarterly. Divide the numbers by 3, if you will. That kind of helps put things on a monthly basis. But right now for a 1-inch residential customer, you charge $19. I would propose, for the customer charge, I would propose that going to $19.95. I'm trying to keep that visually under $20 for this 1 year. I'm not going to be able to do that forever. And the commodity rate would move from $4.65 to $4.87. The average residential customer, if you look to the chart over to the right, using 15 CCUs in a month, their bill, in a quarter, you bill quarterly, would move from $88.75 to $93, or $4.25 a quarter, which is about $1.50 a month. That's so it would affect your average user about $1.50 a month, or $4.25 a quarter.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
Go ahead, Charlie.
I just need, okay, so the total, not any other increase, not anything boiled into that, is that $1.50 just for the water, or is there any other fees?
So
attached to that?
that's all in. I'm looking at the change in the customer charge, the change in the commodity rate, and I'm looking at the current bill they pay, which is approximately for 15 CC used in a quarter, would be moving from $88.75 to $93. That's where the $4.25 came. If you just subtract 93 from 88.75 from 93, you'll get the 425. Divide that by 3 to look at it monthly, and it's a little under $1.50.
So if I'm understanding this right, we're looking at $20 a year increase?
Correct. So sometimes percentages sound scary when we look at a 4.9% rate increase, but when we really look at the dollar value, sometimes it's not as scary as the percentage. Just to put this in perspective for you just a little bit, the US EPA considers water affordability about $100 a month, and you're charging this would be charging under $100 per quarter.
Well, when you put it that way, it does settle you a little easier.
Yes.
You start looking at, today in this world, 5% of anything is usually hundreds of dollars, but
Mr. Chair, if I could ask a follow-up. So
Thank you.
But this doesn't include the sewer rate,
This doesn't include the sewer yet.
the water rate, right?
This is the water only. We're going to see similar increases in sewer,
Okay.
similar dollar impact, and I'll show you that.
Do you have anything that shows the compounded increase with the 7.5%, so over the course of 5 years, it does,
So I don't have it over the 5-year period, but I do have it over the 2-year period. So if I'll review this briefly.
Thank you.
If you were to approve the first rate increase and move to the second rate increase, if Great Lakes Water Authority pushes through their rate increase, the new rate of $19.95 would push to $21.50 for a customer charge. The commodity rate would be $4.87 and move up to $5.24. This rate increase on average would affect a 15 CCU user in a quarter by 7.63% or $7.10. So a little 225, call it 250. That's for the second year rate design. So the bill would move from $93 that we discussed in the previous rate increase to a little over $100. Again, the US EPA standards for water affordability is $100 per month. You're looking at the rates per quarter.
Okay. All right.
Any questions on this before I review sewer? And I will be able to go a little faster because it's the same 3 key targets we're going to look at, but and I'll go over the rate design as
Mr.
well.
Chairman, I got a question. Does your calculation and projection take into account loss of volume in an inelastic market?
So I looked at your units very in much detail. We looked over many years, and staff and I went back and forth on that because, quite frankly, obviously, like many water systems, your units jump around. In the last 2 years, your sales have been down. And so we looked at what we wanted to project that out, and we used a 5-year average on units. We felt that was the fairest number to use. So
Are we referring to
units billed.
that will decline as a result of?
So your units billed the last 2 years have been a little bit lower than they had in the previous years to that. So we used a 5-year average. So if anything, if your units stay lower, revenues could be slightly over projected, but we were confident and comfortable with the rest of the targets, how the rest of the targets looked, that we felt like that was the best projection.
So it does take into account, albeit at a 5-year average, projected decline in volume
Correct.
for the customer. Okay.
Yep. Good question.
Well, that's part of the job.
Yep.
We're the gatekeepers. We're supposedly looking out after the interests of our constituents.
And I have to say, staff did an amazing job looking into that, because when I looked at the statistics, I was concerned about that. I'm concerned about what to project moving into the future, and staff did an excellent job investigating that, looking at it. We all met a couple times to look through that. So we have the best available information that we can have today.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
quick question. Do most residents tend to fall into the 15 to 25 CCU category in usage, or is it just a
So-
wide range all across?
There is a wide range, and especially in water, depending how much household sprinkles. But in general, most residentials would fall really close to that 15 CCU category. Some may jump up to that 25, depending how much they sprinkle.
Or if they have a pool.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question. Do second meters affect this at all? Because we get asked that question a lot, if we were to break out meters, or is that more on the wastewater versus this here for the sprinkling?
So great question. So the second meter is typically to measure sprinkling, so you can determine what doesn't go into the wastewater system. So it's usually considered like a deduct meter. So you use so much water. If you break out what you're using for sprinkling, we know that doesn't go down the sewer system, and therefore they don't get charges on the sewer side with a separate meter.
As you may know, our sewer rates are 100% fixed, meaning we have a bill we have to pay no matter how much gets put in there. So if we were to put second meters or irrigation meters, then that means now we have a loss of revenue from sewer, which now means we have to increase the sewer rate to offset that cost, which means we're paying more to put meters in, and now we're having to increase the cost of this even more to get that money back. So
So it doesn't have the effect that a lot of people think it does?
correct, correct.
Thank you.
Well, let me clarify that. We cap our sewer charges.
We do,
So
At
there is
40
sort of a
yes.
built-in number
yes.
where they can't exceed. So if someone sprinkles a lot or has a pool, they're not necessarily paying for any of that to go into the sewer. If we were to change that model, there might be some people who benefit, and there'll be some people who lose. But ultimately, what Kevin just said, we are going to have to collect the same amount of money in order to pay the sewer bills that we pay.
And then there's the fixed cost of actually installing second meters and
Correct.
monitoring second meters.
Whole new system that has to get set up, more infrastructure for Kevin to deal with. Yes.
Thank you.
In general, we don't encourage second meters for exactly the reasons that were stated here. Any other questions on this before I move into sewer? Okay. So we're looking at the same type of key targets. The middle column there, operating income. Without rate adjustments, you're projected to operate at losses. Cash would go negative by 2030. Your debt coverage ratio would be under the 1.25 there. You do have a robust capital improvement program in sewer as well, so we would need some bonding to help support that in 2026 and 2029. The next slide tries to stabilize those targets. Certainly, I'm going to show you a couple of reasons sewer could actually have a little bit higher increases, but I'm going to show you total overall combined systems. You look at some of your financials that way. So I tried to really balance these rate adjustments out over time, looking at the key targets and keeping those healthy, but trying to keep them at a minimum for the ratepayer. So we're proposing a 4.9% rate adjustment in 2026. I'm giving the board just information for the future. Your proposed sewer increases are about 5.5%. So you can see I'm basically trying to pass that through at a minimum. I'm just trying to stabilize your operating income, which is that middle column. Your cash balance does drop. That's in addition to bonding and the capital improvement program that we're trying to support. That is why cash is dropping there too. And your debt coverage ratio isn't quite a 1, but I'm going to show you the combined table. But these are the minimum increases the wastewater system should have. In the perfect world, they would even be a little bit more robust than what I have in here. But I do want to show you the combined table. So when we look at the combined water and sewer, and again, you look at some of your statistics combined, I'm trying to stabilize that middle column, operating income, and slightly grow that in the direction it should be growing. I'm trying to get your operating cash to meet its minimum according to the risks you have in the system. And I'm trying to get that last column, that debt coverage ratio, closer to about a 1.4. In the perfect world, we would definitely have it above a 1.25 closer to a 1.4 or a 1.5 for a revenue bond projection, and together the two systems meet that requirement. So how would our average sewer system customer be affected? You currently charge per quarter $7.75. That would move to $19.75. The commodity rate would move from $4.49 to $4.66. The average user of 15 CCUs in a quarter currently pays $85. That would move to about $89.65, or a $4.55 increase for the quarter. So do you guys have any questions on that? So together, if we take the $1.50 in water and the $1.50 in sewer, you're looking at about a $3 increase per month, or about a $9 increase per quarter for the two systems. I do have a second year rate design too in wastewater. We would move from the $19.75 we just discussed to $21.95. The commodity rate would move from $4.66 to $4.83. Again, the quarterly customer average user would see about a $4.75 increase per quarter. Do you guys have any questions on anything we've covered?
Anyone? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
have one question. I mean, I see that the 4.9 is kind of a area to keep us, pretty close to our revenues and expenses, even though it's a 5.7% increase. Is there any idea, or maybe are other municipalities saying, hey, let's rip the Band-Aid off early and go even higher than that in year one to offset some increases in year 2, 3, 4, now that we know that they're coming, or we're pretty sure that they're coming?
So that's a great question. What I'm trying to do for you guys particularly is balance your cash balance and not get too aggressive in the early years until we have some of that capital spend down, and then support it on the back to make sure we don't let that cash drop too quickly.
Thank you.
Yep.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just to follow up on Trustee Lucido's question, while you do anticipate that the Detroit, or the Great Lakes Water Authority rate increases that they've, suggested are in our future are very likely to be close to reality, we're not sure of that. It's possible, maybe, that there could be rates higher or lower than what's out there. So we probably want to hew pretty close to where things are at. I also just like for the record that the state laws regulate these funds very tightly. None of the funds that are brought in for water or sewer can be expended for any other purpose. There's not. We couldn't spend it on a park or public or police or fire. Everything stays self-contained, and it's very strictly done so. So we're going to get some pushback, I think, from residents who think, oh, they're just raising rates, they're trying to make money. We don't make money. It goes to support the water and sewer system exclusively. Just, it's more of a statement than it is a...
Yeah, and just a comment, you can see that all I'm trying to do is stabilize your targets. I'm just trying to push through the increases that you're getting, so we can keep the system at a minimum healthy.
Thank you.
Just,
Anyone
if I
else? Go
could, to follow up on that, I mean, if we did increase it though, and, like I said, rip the Band-Aid off early, could that also mean that we may not need to issue such a large bond? If we collect $5 million extra because we increase it 10%, we might only be able to do a $15 million bond and save maybe on some of those costs.
Yeah, so that's a good comment. You would probably be able to save not significant amount. You might be able to cut off, I looked at that just a little bit, don't quote my numbers because I just played with that a little bit, maybe cut off $1 million bonding in the future. Keep in mind the tables that you saw, you're probably not gonna perfectly spend the capital like that's in that table. Sure. So that bonding might not exactly match up. That's why it's super important. You guys have enough stuff going on to look at this, if not annually, definitely biannually, to make sure the rate track is on target because of the costs increases you're facing and because you have a robust capital infrastructure program. We want to make sure we don't want to just blindly follow this either way. The increases might need to be higher in the future, depending the pricing signals you get. or they could be a little bit lower.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else?
Yes, once we establish the percentage for a particular year, does it have to be that particular rate the entire year, or can it be, can it fluctuate seasonally or anything like that?
I don't know, Kevin, you want to take that one?
I guess to understand your question, are you asking if we were to pass an adjustment on July 1 and you want to change the rate in the summertime?
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
if you were to want to do not just do a straight rate, we would need to do a complete review of the entire process of how we charge rates, and that would be an arduous process. It's possible. It would just be a huge undertaking for us to sit down and figure out how we'd want to off-peak, on-peak, those kind of stuff that you're asking. It'd be a huge undertaking to completely change how we charge for water.
So I guess just to help answer Trustee Papa's question. So the reason we hire Dawn and UFS is because they're experts in this particular field. There was a time in the township's history, and Mr. Van Tiffelen can attest to this, where they tried to do this internally, and it consumed an entirely too much resources when experts were available to help us. In order to do what you are considering, asking about, we would have to have basically a continuous analysis of all of the future costs. I don't think the costs change so much from budgeted from year to year or in a 6-month period that it would merit going through that exercise. Because I think we would be spending more in administrative costs than we would potentially be saving on any small rate adjustments. So as it is, Dawn has done a 2-year study for us. So we already have next year's rate proposed. However, we're only going to ask for a 1-year rate vote this year, and Kevin is going to track the progress of all the tables and see that we are consistent with what is being projected, and if so, he's going to come back at a year from now and request the rate that Dawn is suggesting for the 2027 rate year. So if that helps explain some of the process.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And I'll be working with Stacy on that as well, so since she's finance, she'll be a huge part of that discussion.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I got a question and a comment. We're really talking about covering the depreciation of the system and the projected costs of repair and maintenance. That's to Kevin Johnson. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the board voted on a rate structure which would affect the developers and builders for tap charges. Is that correct?
We did a fee study, yes, 2 years ago, yes.
How much, if any, did that increase that cost?
That's a separate thing we're doing right now. I plan on bringing that to the board in the next few meetings, but that looks like it's not going to change very much moving forward.
Do you anticipate it increasing at least 5.7%?
Some things will increase because brass and a lot of the stuff we use is increased significantly. The cost of meters has substantially increased, so some things will, but not everything.
Okay, so we don't have a number. Do we have a number in mind, what we're thinking, if we're trying to generate revenue and limit the exposure of the existing
Yeah.
residents?
Yeah, so I worked with Dawn on that 2 years ago. We basically are taking it to where we have a cost, we get the actual cost of what's going in for the service. We rounded it up to like the nearest $10. So it's kind of, we're not making a ton of money on it. Like the first year, we might be making a small on it. The next year, we're losing money on it. So in the end, it's a break even. That's kind of how we're approaching it. So every 2 years, we review the fees.
Okay, and I think my other question's been answered. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Sure, I have another question, if I may. This gets back to the very, 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 very beginning of your presentation. You mentioned that UFS has clients throughout the country. I appreciate your expertise. How many clients roughly does the UFS have?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. And I should have said across the country, Guam, Canada, and the Caribbean. So we're an international company, but, boy, I'm gonna look at, do you know how many clients we have?
Depending if it's past versus current, but we've done studies in roughly 39 states, as well as, Canada, Guam, Caribbean. Active projects, we usually have roughly under 100 active projects going on at a time, but we've done literally thousands of utility studies
So,
over the years for water, wastewater, electric, telecommunications, and gas.
so just so I can put it in my head, the cost of water in southeast Michigan from Great Lakes Water Authority, is that about the average that people are paying across the country? Is it above average, below average? Is there a way to say?
So, it varies so widely across the country, but I look at individual systems to give me an idea of where you guys are standing, and again, to be about a third of what the US EPA considers affordable. I have seen water systems approach that $100 mark. In general, in Michigan, to be $30 and around that monthly is on the lower end. To be more like $50, $60 is probably more average for a Michigan system, if that gives you a better idea.
Help? Does it dramatically change in other states?
Not really. I really see water bills anywhere from about $30 to $100. Rarely do I see them much over $100. I've seen $30 bills in Wisconsin. I've seen $30 bills, in Texas, whatever. So it varies so widely across the state and by system.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Thank
Well,
you.
thank you for all your time and energy. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item 8. So this is our public hearing for the fiscal budget year 2025-2026. This is actually our second public hearing. I'm going to let our Township CFO give us a little background, and then I'm going to open the public hearing if there's anyone who wishes to make comment. Go ahead, Stacy.
Thank you. Excuse me. First off, I just want to thank this board and all of our department heads. We did have, our first public hearing was nearly 9 hours long. There's many more hours put into this budget, but we did have countless charts, presentations by department heads, and a lot of deliberation by this board to bring you this budget tonight and make these fiscally responsible decisions. A little highlight is the projected governmental funds budget reflects approximately $8.5 million spend down, which includes $25 million in capital improvement projects. The water and sewer fund has about a $2.2 million spend down with nearly $15 million in capital projects just in the next year. In the governmental funds, there's about $14 million just in the roadway fund for roads in the upcoming year. Millage rates or the tax revenues are derived from the millage rates being set tonight, and they account for about 40% of the governmental fund revenues. The general operating and park and rec millage rate was reduced by approximately 0.68% due to Headley rollback. The fire operating and police protection was left unchanged this year. And last year, it was voted on to eliminate the pension tax, and that will take effect this upcoming winter. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions or comments anybody has.
Thank you, Stacy. Any comments or questions since our last meeting on this?
Mr. Chair, do we do the comments under the public hearing or at the adoption of the?
No, we can do, you're right. We should just do the public hearing now, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss when we get to adopting the budget. So, at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. The time is 7:14 p.m. And at this time, if anyone wishes to make public comment on our budget for this public hearing, they may do so at the microphone. Okay. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Brendan Frazier. I live at 47175 LE Drive. Thank you to Commander Abro and Sergeant Cass for being here. Absent is our sheriff and our fire chief. That is why I'm here today. I see they would like to add 2 more deputies to the township. The sheriff's department does a great job out here. However, I don't know if this is something that we are aware of. When our Macomb County jail inmates need to go to the hospitals, often our cars are used out here, and our deputies are babysitting these inmates at the hospital while our contracted township cars are no longer here. To me, that's a concern, especially when you want to add 2 more people. It's a public safety issue, not only for our deputies that are already out here, but for our residents. When it comes to the fire department, I see, she said nothing's changed, and maybe I'm just reading this incorrectly. There's a lot of information, I know, but it looks like a $700,000 increase. I have comparables from different townships that are around here of that are run a little bit more, I guess, professionally. There's more personnel. They're using their own ambulances to transport people to the hospital, billing their insurances, bringing back that money to their townships and keeping that money in their townships. And it's not to say MedStar doesn't do a good job, but maybe just a different idea of something going forward that we can look at for our fire department. Our fire department could be using their own ambulances. They could be going and taking these residents to the hospital faster than waiting on MedStar when we only have sometimes 2 or 3 rigs here. That's a public safety concern to me also. I used to work out here. I understand how it works. I no longer work out here. I work at a different municipality. So I'm not coming up here and just blowing smoke and talking about things that may seem irrelevant. They're just, in my opinion, things that could be improved.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I don't see anyone else, so I'm going to close the public hearing. The time is 7:16. And for the moment, we are going to move on to the second public hearing. So this is for a street lighting SAD for Sheffield Forest Site condominiums, Phase 1. Mr. Van Tiffelen, you want to give us a quick rundown?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, board members. Sheffield Forest is a brand new subdivision. The developer owns all of the lots. As you're aware, the township ordinance requires them to install street lighting. That is done through DTE. This is the public hearing that's necessary for the township to set up the special assessment district so that we can collect money from the residents to pay the electric bill from DTE.
Thank you, Ms. Van Tiffelen. All right, at this time, I'm going to open up this public hearing, and the time is 7:17. Anyone who wishes to make public comment on this SAD for Sheffield Forest? I don't see anyone making a move, so I'm going to close the public hearing also at 7:17. All right, this will take us to item 10. So this is a request to adopt the 2024-2025 Budget Amendment Resolution. Is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Support.
Stacy?
Thank you again. Tonight I'm before you to ask for a budget amendment to the retiree health care fund. I'm asking to reduce the revenues by $324,218 and increase the expenses $28,750. The reduction in revenue is due to our actuary. We had done the budget last year, set the budget prior to the study being done, and it was determined that we did not need to contribute anything to the retiree health care fund. So I am asking to eliminate that revenue line item. And then the expenses are being increased due to an unexpected increase in our premiums for retirees, higher than we had anticipated. So with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Stacy. And so can you just add some clarity? Because we do this at the same time every year, the budget amendment for the current year
Oh.
and then the budget we're adopting for the future
Yes, so
year.
this is for the 2024 July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 budget. So it's our current budget we're in now. The last comments were on the upcoming budget, and the next ones will be to set the upcoming millage rates.
And then just briefly, can you explain why we do an amendment like this?
We are, if we expect if our expenses are going to be more than the board had approved, we need to get an amendment done prior to expending anything further than what you approved. So with our next billing, that will put us over what the board had approved, $421,030 last year. So when we get our next premium for June for our retirees, it's going to put us over.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. Motion by trustee Oliver, supported by trustee Lucido. Clerk Posey will call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Here.
Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that resolution is adopted. All right, the next item we're going to take on is the 2025 millage rates. We're going to make a motion one at a time, but Stacy, could you go through all of them real quick, and then we will do the motions and the approvals one by one.
Sure. We're asking for approval tonight for the 2025 millage rates for the general operating would be 0.6189, which Headley rollback did reduce that a little bit from last year. The fire operating millage at 1.9000, which did not change from last year. Police protection millage at 1.45, which was the same as last year, and the Parks and Rec millage at 0.7417, which was reduced by Headley rollback from last year as well.
Thank you. Now we can ask questions and discuss each one as we make the motion. Can I get a motion for the general operating millage at 0.6189?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Any questions or discussion on the general operating millage? Hearing none. Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Lucido, to approve the general operating millage at 0.6189. Clerk Posey, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes. That resolution is adopted, or that request is approved. It's not a resolution. Next item, is there a motion to approve the fire operating millage at 1.9?
So moved.
Support.
Is that you or me? You guys sound so much alike. Any questions or discussion on the fire operating millage? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Lucido, supported by treasurer Gillette, to approve the fire operating millage rate at 1.9. Clerk Posey, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that rate is approved. Moving on to the police protection millage rate at 1.45. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Oliver, supported by trustee Papa, to set the police protective millage at 1.45 mils. Clerk Posey, we call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that millage is set. And the last one is the Parks and Rec millage rate at 0.7417.
Trustee Kuzmano makes the motion.
Support.
Any questions or discussion on the Parks and Rec millage? Hearing none. Motion by trustee Kuzmano, supported by treasurer Gillette, to approve the Parks and Rec millage rate at 0.7417. Clerk Posey, we call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that rate is set.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So I know that the board is not assessing anything for the fire pension millage that has existed for a number of years, but I believe that rate still exists. I think what we want to potentially do is vote to assess that rate at 0.0 mils. So that
Is that your understanding, Stacy? Should we do that?
I guess it wouldn't hurt. I'm not really sure if we need to, if you need to or not, but
So
probably better to do it.
Do we need to,
I'd like to make a motion that we set the fire pension millage at 0.0 mils.
do we need to change the agenda first, or do we just go ahead and?
I'm going to refer to, no, I don't think so.
No, you actually have it under millage rates.
Right.
So
Okay.
you'd be fine.
Okay, so Treasurer Gillette's motion is on the floor. Is there
One more
support?
time.
So the motion is to set this year's police pension millage at 0.0 mils. We had in last year's budget session, this is a fire, not police,
It's
sorry,
fire,
fire. Yep, we had decided to basically set it at 0, but to keep it on the books in case our investments change or it becomes necessary in the future to make an adjustment, to leave that still on the books as an existing rate, just set at 0 mils.
Got it. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Oh, Charlie.
Charlie seconded? Yeah. And just, I guess just to comment, our fire pension millage, or our fire pension fund is over 100%.
Right, it's fully funded, which is why we don't want to
Which is why
assess
we're
anything.
no longer collecting anything for it.
And hopefully we won't have to, but in 2 years, 3 years, you never know. So we want to keep the structure of it on the books just in case.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
I did just want to make a comment just to clarify that the fire operating fund is going to do a contribution based on what the actuarial study says that we should. So when we changed the fire millage last year, it went from a special assessment to collecting on personal property tax. So there is $186,000 in the fire operating fund that's going to be transferred to the fire pension based on what the actuarial study came out last year.
Thank you, Stacy. Anyone else? Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Oliver, to set the fire pension millage at 0.0 mils. Clerk Posey, we call the roll.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, Treasurer Drollet,
Yes.
Trustee Oliver,
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano,
Yes.
Trustee Lucido.
Yes.
Trustee Papa,
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Vivian.
Yes, that rate is set. Okay. This will take us to item 12. This is a request to adopt the General Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2025-2026,
AKA the budget.
the budget for this coming fiscal year.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Support.
Anything to add from the public hearing?
Nope, I do not.
There was a couple of minor things that changed from the last public hearing. I should have asked you before this, but do you remember what they are?
I do
One
have
of
that.
them was one of the budget items we asked Sal to prepare, which was the, I don't even remember,
Just had that, of course.
batting tunnels, which is 60 grand. That money number was tweaked.
Some of the things that we had changed, we added land acquisition, some increased costs at the Old Town Hall Park, some radar signs, some repairs at some of the parks on the pathways. We did remove something that was in this year's budget that we were going to move forward, which was the playground. Some carpet and paint at the senior center, and some more we added some budgeted funds to the sidewalks,
Okay, thank you.
sidewalk program.
Chair, I believe all these elements were things that were discussed at the full
Yeah.
hearing and the decisions that were made and then that were changed as a result of that meeting.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on the General Appropriations Act?
Chair, if I could point out one or two elements of the act, or of the budget, if I would. You know, Ms. Smith, you stated that we have budgeted how much for roads in this upcoming budget?
There's about, I think, 15 million. Well, 14 million for roads and
Yeah.
another like 1.2, I think, for sidewalk gap program.
And having looked back at our previous budgets just in the last 10 years or so, I think the previous amount spent on roads by the township, the highest number was something like 6.8 million.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So
Yeah.
basically, this is the biggest investment the township has ever made in road improvements.
Correct.
Is in this budget. Also, like to note some elements of the budget are that with the addition of the 2 public safety officers, this will be the highest number of officers per resident in the history of the township as well. The population of the township has gone up in the last 15 years or so about 8%, whereas our number of officers added is somewhere along the lines with these, an additional 50% over that time. So this will be the highest number of officers per resident in the history of the township as well. So those are 2 of the elements I think that stand out in this budget as far as investments in public safety and in infrastructure that are really stand out in this budget.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No more questions? There's a motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Papa, to adopt the General Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2025-2026. Clerk Posey, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, the General Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2025-2026 is adopted.
Thank you.
Next item, thank you, Stacy. Next item, item 13, is a request to adopt a resolution for the street lighting SAD for Sheffield Forest Site Condominiums Phase 1. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Trustee Kuzma supports.
Mr. Van Tifflin, anything to add from the public hearing?
Nope, this is the resolution that's necessary to set up the special assessment district.
Okay, any questions or discussion from the board? Hearing none, motion by Trustee Oliver, supported by Trustee Kuzmano, to adopt the resolution for the street lighting SAD for Sheffield Forest Site Condominiums Phase 1. Clerk Posey, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that resolution is adopted. Next item, this is a recommendation to approve the water and sewer rates beginning July 1st, 2025, as presented by our water rate specialist. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Payne?
I'm in pain.
Mr. Johnson?
Just as a recap from all the numbers you heard earlier, so essentially, we're just going to be approving the first year of rates that we spoke about, which again, just to recap, the water service charge will go from $19 a quarter to $19.95 a quarter. The water commodity per unit will go from $4.49 to $4.87. The sewer service charge will go from $17.75 per quarter to $19.75 per quarter. And the sewer commodity will go from $4.49 to $4.66 per unit. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none. Motion by Trustee Oliver, supported by Treasurer Gillette, to approve the water and sewer rate updates beginning July 1st, 2025. Members, please vote. Motion passes 6-1 with Trustee Kuzmano voting no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Moving on to Human Resources. This is the request to adopt a resolution to support the budgeted staffing changes that were in the budget we just passed. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Support.
Mr. Tabaka.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and board members. I'm here to request approval of a resolution that supports staffing changes outlined in our approved 25-26 budget and union letters of understanding. The budget provides for adjustments to both the structure and size of our workforce, including the addition of 2 new positions, and it supports opportunities for the promotion of current employees into new and existing roles. It directs HR to post for all external and internal positions. The resolution also updates 2 job classifications. It further authorizes the township supervisor to execute letters of understanding with our labor partners to stay aligned with collective bargaining agreements and to issue at-will employment agreements where appropriate. This resolution ensures we're meeting our staffing needs while honoring our commitments and procedures. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you,
if I
Mr.
may.
DeBaca. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. DeBaca, effectively, these are the staffing changes that the board discussed at the last public hearing, on the all-day public hearing. That's effectively what this represents, correct? We had a number of discussions about staffing adjustments, staffing changes, promotions, that sort of thing, and this resolution reflects those decisions made at that hearing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none. Motion by Treasurer Dot, supported by Trustee Lucido, to adopt the resolution for the budgeted staffing changes. Member Clerk Posey, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that resolution is adopted. And our next item is a request to adopt a resolution approving the salary adjustment for the Macomb Township Clerk.
Motion to approve?
Trustee Kuzma supports the motion.
Is there any questions or discussion? Oh, I should ask Mr. Tabaka to say a few things. Sorry. Just jumping ahead.
Thank you again. So back in 2022, the voters passed Proposal 2. That amendment to Michigan's Constitution brought in some big updates in how we run elections, like 9 straight days of early voting for at least 8 hours a day and expanded absentee voting options. These new requirements have added a lot more responsibility to the clerk's role. She's in charge of overseeing all of it, from the early voting sites to the absentee ballots, plus managing staff and making sure everything runs smoothly, especially during major elections. During the last big election cycle, the clerk ended up working 23 days in a row, often with long hours and a workload that went well beyond what's normally expected. That's a huge commitment, and we recognize how important it is that this work gets done right for the residents of Macomb Township. Because of that, we want to recognize her efforts and make sure she's fairly compensated for the extra time and responsibility. The proposal is that the clerk would receive an additional $2,500 for each election. Back in December of 2024, an LOU was approved that paid her salary staff the same amount. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. DeBaca. Now, any questions or discussion? No? Okay. Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Lucido. I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong line. Motion by Trustee Papa, supported by Trustee Kuzmano, to adopt the resolution approving the salary adjustment for the Macomb Township Clerk. Clerk Posey, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor. Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Clerk Posey abstains. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that resolution is adopted. All right, our next item is a request to approve the addition to the contract with the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
So, with in the budget hearing, in our first budget hearing, we had a long discussion about staffing levels for the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. The decision was made to request a contract addendum to add 2 deputies to our contingent. And today, that's what we're here voting on. Commander Abro, do you have anything you would like to add to our discussion?
I do not, other than, we look at the township board to determine manpower and what you want your police to look like. And I can tell you that this is a great decision by adding additional deputies to the township. I know that you saw the schedule there for the partial payment here into 25, and then what it would cost in 26 and 27 going forward. Adding the 2, it will be the day shift and afternoon shift, and then adding an additional vehicle to the township.
Thank you, Commander. Are there any questions or discussion?
Question.
Yes.
Thank you, Commander. Appreciate it. In previous discussions with the board, there was a discussion about the township or the Sheriff Department providing a dedicated K-9 unit to the township. I know this is not directly related to the contract, but while you're here, is that something that the County Sheriff Department intends to follow through with?
Yeah, it's something that we're looking at currently. I know that we have talked about this, whether the township wish to purchase their own K-9 to have it within the township. But we periodically get grants, or we get volunteers who will contact us and email us about donating dogs. We are currently looking at adding at least 1 or 2 to our current allocation of our canines. So hopefully we'll be able to get the township one. Can't make any promises yet, but we are definitely exploring it and looking into it.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question, but it would be a canine that's not funded, that would not, that you're not purchasing that canine specifically for the township. So I can't make any guarantees that you get the first one if we get a grant but we will try. I mean, you are a large township. We've had, I think I've indicated several calls that we've had where we've asked for canines to come into the township for tracks or searches or missing persons, but we're making progress on it, but I can't guarantee that it's going to happen anytime.
I was under the assumption there's a higher degree of likelihood, almost certainty, that we would have a canine unit dedicated to the township. Am I just misunderstanding
So I
that?
think the canine costs about 15 grand or so for the canine purchase and for training for that officer. The cost that I see here today is just for the deputy cost. That's not to buy a canine and purchase it and send the officer to training.
Thank you.
But we'll make those efforts.
Thank you, Commander. Any other questions or discussion?
Quick question. When would the new officers be starting?
October 1st.
October 1st?
Correct.
Anyone else? Do we know what shifts they'll be on, or is that to be determined yet?
Right now, we're looking at one for day shift, one for afternoons, and we're looking at increasing the complement here on staffing.
Okay.
And we make that permanent.
Anyone else? Okay. Motion by trustee Oliver, supported by trustee Gillette, to approve the addition of 2 deputies to the contract with the Macomb County Sheriff's Office. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And while you're here, congratulations on your completion at Quantico. If you guys hadn't heard, that our commander finished it, how long was it?
I was there for about 2.5 months.
2.5 months
Yeah.
tour in Quantico. That's impressive. I look forward to hearing about it.
Living on base, yeah, I'm glad I'm back.
Just got back.
Yeah,
too.
just got back.
Congratulations. Thank you. All right. This will take us to public comment. This is for non-agenda items. Anyone who wishes to make public comment may do so now at the microphone on the right-hand side of the room. Please remember you have a
Good
3-minute
evening,
time
Dave.
limit,
Yep.
and state your name and address for the record.
Dave Piper, 15889 Van Meter, and I'm here to remind you that it's coming Monday across the street at the library. The Friends of Macomb Township will be giving away 10 $1,000 scholarships to worthy township residents that are graduating from high school. And I'd like to invite you again, if you're welcome, more than welcome, come 6:30 p.m. at the library. We have a special guest this year, which is unusual. It's one of our original recipients who was homeless at the time he was receiving these scholarships. He's now a medical doctor, and he's going to be there giving a little presentation about his life-changing events that he had thanks to these scholarships. So, and if I can plug our bottle and can drives, that's on the 22nd. That's where the money comes for these scholarships. We do bottle and can drives on the 4th Sunday of every month from April to October in the Glenn Peters School parking lot in Heinrich, south of 21. And that's where we raise our money. So, again, if the residents continue to support us, we're hoping to keep doing these scholarships bigger and better. When we started out, it was 1 scholarship. When I joined the organization, we were up to 6. Now we're up to 10. So there's a lot of dedicated volunteers that work on that. I'd also like to make a comment about our planning director and our planning commission. I know they were in the news last week. People were unhappy with them. I attend several of their meetings in the audience, and I know I can attest to how professional they are. And these attacks to them, the petition drive that someone has started is just so unwarranted. So I just want to go on record as supporting them. They do a fantastic job. So
Thank you, Ms. Piper. Anyone else who wishes to make public comment? No? Okay. So we're going to move on to board comments. Trustee Lucido.
Just quickly, thank you to Don Lund and Kevin for all your work on the water study. I know it's not something the residents want to hear, but it's a necessary evil, and I do appreciate all your work on that to give us a roadmap to use to make those decisions. So thank you. And also, obviously, to the department heads and Stacy for all your work on the budget. That is a enormous task that I think, in just my 4 years and going on 5 years dealing with Stacy, she is just unbelievable at, being able to recall information and get us information to make these decisions, at the drop of a hat rather than I'll get back to you. It's like, yeah, give me 2 seconds, I'll get it for you. So she's just amazing, and thank you to her and everybody else, all the department heads. Thank you.
Trustee Papa.
Yes, thank you. First, with school out for the summer, to the class of 2025, congratulations on reaching this milestone. Your accomplishments are the testament to your hard work and focus. And as you enter the next chapter, lead with integrity, keep learning, and aim to leave this place a better place than you found it. Second, I'd like to also recognize the Macomb Township Planning Commission for the professional way that they conducted themselves during last week's meeting, which centered around the proposal for sheets at 23 and North. The meeting drew a significant number of concerned residents who came to voice their opposition to the proposal. I thought the Planning Commission did an excellent job reviewing the application strictly within the framework of the township ordinances as they are charged to do so. Planning Director Josh Box responded point by point to residents' concerns and backed his responses with actual local examples that helped clarify the legal and planning context. Likewise, the township attorney, Ben Aloya, did a great job explaining the potential legal consequences that could arise if the township denied proposal by ordinance, which that meets all the requirements. It was unfortunate to see some of the audience members make unfounded claims suggesting that the commission's decision might be influenced by tax revenue or favoritism or politics. Despite the tensions in the media attention, the commission remained composed, asked relevant questions to the Sheets representative, and ultimately made their decision based on facts and ordinances, not emotions. Also wanted to highlight Vice Chair Aaron Tuckfield, who brought some interesting context to discussion by presenting the data comparing the number of gas stations in Macomb Township versus the surrounding areas. Spoiler alert, it's only 16, which is a lot fewer than I thought. So thank you to the entire Planning Commission for your professionalism, your transparency, composure, and during a difficult and highly visible meeting, you represented the township with integrity, and I thought that deserved to be recognized.
Thank you, Trustee Papa. Thank you. Trustee Oliver.
I can't top Pete, Stacy, and Kevin. You guys do a great job. We really appreciate it. I appreciate it. So that's that. And I want to thank the Sheriff Department for bringing their input in and giving us the information so we can make good decisions on hiring new deputies. And Ron, thank you for them comments. I appreciate it. It's
Thank you.
That was a very difficult meeting, but we got Josh Box here that was able to answer all the questions. It's the way we run the meetings, and we run into these things once, not all the time. They usually don't go like that, but it was handled well, and that was it. And we're gonna get another sheets, and that's about it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Oliver. Trustee Guzmano.
No comments tonight.
Thank you, Trustee Guzmano. Treasurer Gillette.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to make a comment with regard to the budget process. I think that our CFO, Stacy Smith, has a more difficult job than some may even recognize. I've been involved in, working on budgets for the county and for the state level. What we do here in Macomb Township is far more collaborative than I think is done in a lot of those levels of government, where Stacy is involves department heads, staff, employees, all the way up to all the elected officials. Makes it a lot harder to get that input in from so many different places and involve so many people in crafting the budget that sort of appropriates our priorities here in the township. So I'd like to commend not just her, but everybody involved in the process, her staff and everybody who participated as a department head employee, a staff person, residents, and this board as well, for dedicating as much time, effort, and work they do as to help create the list of priorities that this community has put together in this budget. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Treasurer Gillette. Clerk Posey.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I believe tonight was a testament to all of our directors and our commissions, the professionalism and the amount of research, the ability to reach out to experts so that we are informed and have top-notch information before we make our decisions is what this board has brought to Macomb Township. So thank you to all the professionals that work for us on all of our commissions and throughout the township. Also, I look forward to the new deputies joining Macomb Township's team in October. And don't forget about the fantastic display of tons of trucks on Saturday, our annual event. It's a great event. If you have young ones, they absolutely love it, and I look forward to seeing our residents there.
Thank you. So yeah, tons of trucks. June 14th, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Seneca. One of our biggest events of the year. Stacy, excellent job as always. You set the bar very high, and you're spoiling us and making our jobs too easy. I want to thank Dawn and Kevin for all their work on the water rates. Yes, as Trustee Lucido said, it is not an enviable task to have to set those water rates, but it's something that is an absolute necessity in order to maintain our water system. I want to congratulate Lieutenant Gillespie, who is currently our lieutenant in this at our substation, and he is retired as of Monday. So, any announcement on who our replacement is going to be?
Tomorrow, we should have it.
Tomorrow? All right, well, we're looking forward to getting to know who our replacement is. I want to thank Sergeant Cass for being responsive at the last, before the last planning meeting. I did contact him sort of late, and he sent up some deputies to sort of keep an eye on things. And unfortunately, they did need to step in, and I wasn't here, but I would appreciate it if you would extend my thanks to them for their professionalism as they helped calm things down. And lastly, another thing regarding last meeting, one of our commissioners, while the entire team did a great job overall, one of our commissioners did engage in a line of questioning that wasn't germane to the topic at hand. I did speak to him. He understands and agrees that his questioning was something that he shouldn't have done, and he does plan on making a statement at the next Planning Commission meeting. And with that, we are now going to go into closed session. I am going to need a motion, I believe, 2 separate motions for these items.
You can combine them.
We can combine them. So can someone make a motion to bring us into closed session?
Do we have to list in the motion the purpose for the closed session, Mr. Chair?
I would just do an and for the items on the agenda. Just add an and to it, and we'll vote them on both together. Okay. Let's see if you need to list it. There you can.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I move that we enter closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681E to discuss trial and settlement strategy regarding Diane R. Wessels versus Township of Macomb, and also that the closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681H to discuss legal written opinion regarding priority waste contract.
Is there a second?
Support.
Any questions or discussion? Motion by Treasurer Gillette, supported by Trustee Oliver, to enter closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681E to discuss trial and settlement strategy regarding Diane R. Wessels v. Macomb Township, and closed session pursuant to MCL 15.2681H to discuss a written legal opinion regarding the priority waste contract. Members, please vote.
Roll
I'm
call.
sorry. Clerk Posey, we call the roll?
Treasurer Drollet?
Yes.
Trustee Oliver?
Yes.
Trustee Kuzmano?
Yes.
Trustee Lucido?
Yes.
Trustee Papa?
Yes.
Clerk Posey, yes. Supervisor Viviano?
Yes, that motion is approved, and we are entering closed session. The time is 7:53 p.m. We are returning from closed. Come on, sit down. We are returning from closed session. The time is 8:41 p.m. So at this time, I am going to ask for a motion to approve the recommended settlement in the case of Diana R. Wessels v. Township of Macomb.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Stoken? I'm sorry. Right?
You're close. Stoken.
Stoken.
Sounds like an E, but spelled with an A.
I want to put an R after the T. I don't know why. Mr. Stoken.
Never heard that one.
Could you please, on the record, tell us why we are here today for this?
Just briefly, we were here and I was requesting approval from the township to accept the recommendation to resolve this case and reach a settlement with the plaintiff, in avoiding going to trial and also locking in any potential liability to avoid a larger verdict at trial. The condition would be obviously upon the township's board's approval and a release and settlement agreement signed by the plaintiff.
Thank you. Have any questions or further comment for this?
And to confirm statements that I understand, there's no net loss because the deductible's already been fulfilled.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. It would be, and it is the recommendation of the Michigan Municipal League, essentially the township's insurance carrier, and they would be covering the cost of the settlement.
Thank you.
Any questions or discussion? Motion by Clerk Posey, supported by Treasurer Gillette. Did you support?
Papa.
I'm sorry, Trustee Papa.
Do I sound
To
Kermit?
approve the recommended settlement in Diane R. Wessels v. Macomb Township. Members, please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Supervisor, I would just like to note that item number 19 was for informational purposes only.
Thank you. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support.
Any questions or discussion? Motion by Trustee Lucido, supported by Treasurer Gillette to adjourn the meeting. Members, please vote.
Can't think Charlie is off by an hour, but still won somehow.
Did I say?
Motion passes unanimously. This meeting is adjourned.